Hello, guys, and welcome to another episode of Diving into GemPool. Today's guest is Sean Whelan.
Thank you. Thank
Hey,
you. Pleasure.
how are you doing,
I'm
man?
good, man. I'm good. We've been trying to plan this for a long time.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
finally I'm
yeah,
on the podcast and I'm delighted. Can't wait.
exactly. I'm delighted to have you
Yeah,
on.
thank you.
For those who don't know, the podcast was something that was an idea of mine, and Sean was also had his own personal podcast. I myself was a streamer, so it worked well. But
Definitely.
then as we went along, we just decided it'd be better to get Connor on the team and for Sean to be a guest. So
Absolutely.
it's absolutely amazing to have you on, man.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Blast to the past.
Thank you. Thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, no, I've done podcasts before myself, but being a guest is different, so I'm excited.
Yeah,
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 yeah.
and that's great. That's
Yeah.
great. And from that, then I suppose we'll get right into it.
Let's do it.
The first question that I commonly ask,
hmm
so you're no exception. Is what is your analogy of the recruitment industry today?
First, I'd like to say the analogy I had of recruitment before I was a recruiter
Hmm.
was very much kind of a process where somebody applies for a role. You're going through applications, ringing the various different candidates, and just kind of picking the one that fits. But little did I know I was very
Yeah.
wrong. It's not that simple. Now that I'm almost 2 years in recruitment, it's for me it's a very much a two-way relationship. It's a relationship between the candidate and it's a relationship between the client. You have to kind of make sure you're offering as much value as you can, not just in terms of recruitment to the client, but also offering market insights of what you're seeing on a daily
Hmm.
basis. And obviously, there's a lot of care needed, and a lot of rapport needs to be built with a candidate when you're putting. So there's a lot more tangible a relationship and
Hmm.
very very kind of close knit between the two.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's interesting that you say that. I know that Mick, when he was on the podcast, he was saying it's like a relationship,
Absolutely.
and Connor on the podcast, who's here beside me as part of our production team, but he was saying it's like content creation, and for me, I obviously put it back to sports, with it when it comes to you never know whether your team's going to win or lose. You just gotta be through it
Absolutely.
in the bad and the good.
Yeah.
So it's definitely interesting to hear. But no, it's always good to get an idea from everyone in terms of their analogy of
For
recruitment
sure.
because this is what we're all about here at GemPool. But today I wanted to talk about work life balance, and I wanted to get you on because you started at GemPool during COVID,
hmm
during fully remote working, and sometimes the work life balance can be difficult. But starting off, how did you find that balance when you joined first? Being at home the whole time, for some it may be ideal when they don't have to commute,
hmm
they can switch off at 5:30. But for others, it's a case of when do they switch off?
Yeah.
How did you find that when you started first?
Yeah, good question. When I started, I came from retail. So it was a daily basis going into a shop and dealing with people, and then moving, kind of having to overcome a transition of working fully remote in
Mm,
COVID, and obviously it was coming to kind of the third lockdown as well. So it wasn't easy. I was so used to kind of daily kind of socializing and talking to different customers on a daily basis. We're just kind of talking on a computer and remote as
mm,
well. So it was definitely it took time to get used to. But obviously, GenPool has made it so easy for
yeah.
me when I started. I didn't start alone as well. I started with a colleague, an ex colleague. So it was a great transition. It was a great way to kind of help me. Move to that kind of different career,
Mm,
the 9 to 5 gig, something I
yeah.
always wanted as well. But yeah, the balance was the only way I kind of overcome it and adapted to it is by the help of GenPool and how welcoming they've been, and the different activities that we were doing to kind of take the stigma around working from home and just kind of feel more welcoming and more
Mm.
socializing, even though you're through a computer screen. Yeah.
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 I like that too, that you found that transition nicely.
hmm
I know for myself, I was in college. I also come from a retail background, so it was definitely an interesting thing when you come into the remote environment,
hmm
especially when you have parents, the older generation, who have been in the office the whole time. It's interesting how they can view it as you're DOSing during the day
Exactly.
because you're at
Yeah.
home. But at the same time, it can be almost the opposite. You're almost never switched off because you don't know when to separate it. So it's really nice to hear that you were able to separate it. And in terms of that work life balance, we talk about GemPool helping with that transition, and in terms of companies that do value that work life balance. What does there's a reason that we do value it, because it means so many different things to so many different people. What does the work life balance mean to you?
Yeah, for me, it means a lot. I think for it's important for employers to do that, to
Mm,
have a good work-life balance, and to give it, to
yeah.
give the options as well. It is important. It kind of boosts the morale of your
Mm,
employees, the kind of group as well. And after going tough times in 2020 up to 2021, so
shit.
yeah, very tough times. So it is important, and having to switch off is very, very important. And
Yeah.
like you said, it's a lot tougher when your office is your next bedroom.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. Exactly.
it is very tough.
Yeah.
Because you see it every day, and you're kind of waking up out of bed, and it's very, very easy to fall into a lazy routine.
Yeah.
So having to switch off and maybe separating your computer desk from your actual communal area at home is very, very
Mm,
important, and something that companies do need to push as well,
yeah.
for sure.
Yeah, and I know for me personally, when I talk about work-life balance, and Connor here beside me will definitely attest to this. But even when I talk about the work-life balance for
Hmm.
me, when I was in college, there was always something that I wanted to do, whether it was acting, karate, looking after committees within the students' union, and as well as that, with the work-life balance, now it's almost, you're turning into a different version of yourself after work is finished, when you're doing karate, when you're doing rugby,
Absolutely.
when you're acting, when you're
Yeah.
streaming. These are all things that I value, and that's part of my work life balance. For some, it's once work is done, they can relax, they
Hmm.
can go out and drink, and the likes. And it's really interesting that value of people's personal lives is starting to get recognized more and more. And
Absolutely.
there's more of an understanding that work is obviously part of our lives,
Hmm.
but it's important to have that separation, to be able to do your own thing.
Hmm.
And as I said, everyone's different. For me, it's more work, but it's more so personal projects.
Yeah.
For others, it's rest, as I said. So it's definitely interesting in that sense, to,
Yeah.
to get to know more about what it does mean to people, and how can companies help with that. And for you, what have you seen from companies these days that made you think about the work life balance, what we can do better in
Hmm.
terms of creating a better work life balance for those who maybe struggle with it?
Yeah. Yeah, you see a lot of companies, especially in our sector, who are working in the IT
Mm,
industry. You see a lot of demand for it, first of all, from
yeah.
candidates on a daily basis. When we're talking to candidates, and they want to leave a job that they don't have a good work life balance, and they want to change that.
Yeah.
So there is a big demand for it. What I'm seeing a lot of different companies, they're doing a lot of incentives and
Mm,
different activities and outings and workshops as well. There's a client that we were dealing with last year that done a lot of like DIY
mm,
workshops to kind of take the actual workday out of it, and just kind of improve yourself on different
yeah.
skills, but just to kind of have a divide,
Yeah.
and not be in the office and taking a break. It's so important, and like I said, there's a huge demand for it with different candidates, um, and it's becoming a lot more acceptable now, because I
Yeah.
think back in the day a lot of people would have said, "Oh, work, work, work,"
Yeah.
and you have your weekends to relax, but it's not true. Like we
Yeah.
do need our break after we're finished at 5, 5:30. We do
Mm,
need to kind of wind down, and it's a habit you need to get into, not
mm,
kind of to switch off, and not concentrate about work. But absolutely, like
yeah.
I do see that there's a big demand for it.
Yeah. And it's really interesting that you kind of mentioned that shift from
Yeah,
the old mentality to the
yeah.
new one. Obviously we came from retail, where you do your job and then you go home and you relax. Obviously I had college and then I went home to do retail. So it was definitely, stress on stress in
Hmm.
terms of that, constantly working. But in retail, again, it's really interesting. You look at TikToks and people are making jokes that their break, ended 15 minutes ago, but they're still on break. And it's funny because retail workers obviously get, such abuse, I would say, honestly.
Sure.
And they have to have a lot of patience for that. So at the end of the day, they're just aiming to get through the day. And then there's such a difference from the toxic workplace that has to do with, you're in, an hour before you're scheduled to start, and you're there till 7 or 8 o'clock. That seemed very daunting to me if I was in a workplace that, had me wanting to be in there until, well, not wanting to be in there, forcing me to be in there until 7 o'clock. Was there ever a point where you found that, daunting? Because I know for me, coming out of college, that was the last thing I wanted with everything that I do.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you touched on some good points there. With retail, you do have to have a lot of patience,
Yeah.
and you grow thick skin. And I
Yeah.
think a lot of people, if they haven't experienced it, maybe they should for quite some time. You do have to have a lot of patience, and yeah, it is. It can be daunting. That's why it's a great subject to talk about,
Yeah.
Aaron.
We just got out there for a second, so don't worry about that. But yeah, as you were saying about the toxic workplace. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Like the examples you were saying, staying an hour early or an hour before, like
Mm.
it comes a lot in retail, and they do have to have a lot of patience, and you do get abused in terms of kind of rude customers and stuff. So it is daunting, and that's why it's so important, and I think that's why there's such a big demand for it.
Yeah.
For people to kind of change different careers and
Mm.
have a better work-life balance, because all you're thinking about when you're going home is that kind of treatment,
Yeah.
and it's not nice.
Yeah, exactly. And what would you say to, people who have that toxic mentality
Yeah.
when it comes to, wanting to be in there and until 7, and people saying that you're not working hard enough, or you don't want to get where you won't be able to get where you want to if you don't work those extra hours. What would you say to those people?
Life's too short. You need to
Yeah.
definitely to look at what your career is like,
Yeah.
in terms of what job it is, and if you're having that kind of mentality, and people are saying these things to you, you need to go, you need to get out of there, and
Yeah.
you need to look elsewhere, and you need to find something that you'll be happy working in, but you'll also
Mm.
have supportive environment,
Yeah.
and people there for you, and that want to be an advocate for
Yeah.
you to succeed. Do you know? So that's exactly what I
Yeah.
would say.
Yeah, exactly. And what I would say as well is, when you're working your scheduled 9 to 5 or whatever, when that's done, you can switch off and be ready for the next day. You
Exactly.
don't want to get burned out.
Yeah.
And I think it's so important, and it increases productivity, whether people want to admit it or not. It's just a case where you need your rest. Just like if you're going to the gym, you need your 8 hours sleep, you need your rest days. Similar to work, you
Hmm.
need that time to just
Disconnect.
lay
Yeah,
down, get your rest and get ready for another day where you
absolutely.
can do a lot more in 8 hours versus, struggling to get through a 12-hour, 14-hour day for some. It's
Absolutely.
mental.
Yeah.
So that's what I would say as well. And obviously there's been studies to back it up, and with
Hmm.
the 4-day week, but honestly, I think it's common sense.
Hmm.
And I think that's, just something that people need to be more open to.
Hmm.
But moving on from that, I touched on it as well in relation to, when we were talking about wanting to get where we want to go in our careers, and the work that you need to put in to get that. Obviously, you had a promotion this year, senior recruiter.
Thank you.
It was huge.
Thank
But how did you find that transition in terms of workload, in terms of work-life balance? How did you manage that shift? Because obviously, with the title comes
course.
comes more
Of
responsibility.
course.
How did you manage that in terms of the extra responsibility that you were taking on?
Yeah, so when I got the promotion in September, it was something I was working towards for
Mm.
6 months beforehand. So it was great achievement to get. And I knew that what was expected of me is a lot more
Yeah.
than what I was doing already. So I kind of had an expectation
Mm.
of what is needed in terms of not just what I was doing on a day to day basis, but kind of as a whole in
Mm.
terms of my responsibilities and different types of things. I just kind of needed that to kind of get a bit more out of it.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of planning involved. I was kind of mapping out my own. I did my own kind of roadmap
Yeah.
to how I'm going to execute the start of my promotion, and
Mm.
just got into little habits of
Yeah.
just different things that I didn't do beforehand. These habits helped me kind of to be more productive,
Mm.
be more attentive into smaller detail. Show more initiative, and obviously there's a lot of things that I wanted to do that I didn't do beforehand. With the promotion is something that I can do is look for different kind of learning developments, and
Yeah.
just further on and improve my skills and stuff. So it's just showing that initiative and stepping out your comfort zone,
Mm.
and yeah, it's kind of it's the little habits that help me gradually
Yeah.
working towards the promotion that actually put me in the kind of in that kind of routine, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and I like that,
yeah,
just
yeah,
taking it step by step to
absolutely.
get to there. I
Hmm.
don't think people need to get overwhelmed
Yeah,
when it comes to stuff like work.
yeah.
They if you take it step by step,
Gradually. Yeah.
you can get through it, and I think that's an important
Hmm.
part of somebody's career in general is not to get overwhelmed if there's a lot of work at once. Just take it step by step.
Exactly.
Everyone understands that there's a lot there to do, so it's just about prioritizing
Hmm.
and then taking it from there. And I think it'll be really important for them to then get in a position
Absolutely.
like yourself.
Yeah, yeah.
So I definitely appreciate coming from that side of things.
Hmm.
But yeah, from that then I have to say the work-life balance, it's obviously so important, and the trends are definitely showing that it's becoming more and more important. And obviously we talk about GemPool in terms of what they've offered. What's kind of been a highlight for you in terms of the work life balance? What's a highlight that highlights the work life balance?
Yeah, I like it. In terms of gym pool, the different kind of work and life balance is obviously it's very much encouraged here,
Mm.
and it's provided. Um, doing the incentives and
Mm.
stuff like that. That's a great way to kind of boost morale
Yeah.
and get us out of the office, and not even incentives, but also doing our sustainability stuff.
Yeah.
And every quarter we're doing our one-to-ones, different things to do in the community and for charity and stuff like that. So that's a lot of it as well. It comes down for me. It comes down a lot to kind of day to day.
Yeah.
I don't have the kind of pressure or the kind of staying late or anything like that. You're very trusted in GemPool.
Mm.
With managing your own desk,
Yeah.
you're not asked to be staying late on a Friday evening, and then you're kind of stressing at the weekend
Mm.
compared to where I was before GemPool. I was a lot more
Yeah. Yeah.
stressed, and
Yeah.
right now in terms of how far I've come now in GemPool, I feel like if there was any stress, any kind of thing to kind of stress about, it's something that there's support there and
Yeah.
it's offered, but it's very much encouraged to kind of take a break, wind down, go for a walk, and don't take it too stressful,
Yeah.
don't take it too hard.
Definitely.
Yeah,
Definitely. And
yeah.
I think when I asked that, it's not a case of advertising
Oh
GemPool.
yeah.
I think what I'm trying to take from that and to show the audience, it's something that, as I said, people should be asking about, and understanding what their company can offer to help with even their career progression. It's a huge thing for work life balance
Massive. Yeah.
to define where your career will go.
Hmm.
So yeah, it's definitely important for that, and I think that's what I wanted to highlight through that question as
Yeah.
well. So you definitely touch on a lot of good points there. But no, Sean, I really appreciate you coming on the podcast
Thank
today.
you.
Unfortunately, we're out of time now with the
Pleasure.
two stops in the camera.
Yeah.
So for anyone who noticed that, you have a keen eye, you have a keen eye. But yeah, my last question then, Sean, is where can our Connor's over here on the side here. Where can our pool of gems connect with you?
Are full of gems. They connect with me on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
They can find me through the website on GemPool. And yeah, but mainly with LinkedIn. I'm very
Yeah,
active. Yeah,
yeah. Shocker,
yeah,
shocker.
shocker. Yeah.
LinkedIn
Yeah,
is
you
always,
wouldn't think it.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. When someone comes on that says Instagram, or something like
yeah,
that,
yeah.
that'll be a great day. That'll be a great
Nice.
day. But no, Sean, appreciate
Thanks a
you
million.
being on. And it was great talking about,
Definitely.
this topic. And to the audience at home, I appreciate you taking the time to watch or to listen. And I will see you in the next episode. Goodbye.